Hello everyone and welcome back to On the Bucket.
Hi! 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 Hi!
Welcome to our channel.
Hello.
If you enjoy learning about reptiles and having a good laugh, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button.
Hurt.
Smash it. Smash it. Smash it right now. And don't forget to hit that notification bell.
Head.
Smash it. Okay. Today's episode is going to be a very special one. I'm going to share with you a secret that is so useful. It will help you forever. So, can you stop making noise outside, honey? Thank you. So anyways, this week what I'm going to show you is how I do my feeding schedule. I hope that you really appreciate this because it took me a long time to make this, okay? It seems simple, but I have really bad ADD. So, yeah, this was like, I attempted number 1, and then attempt number 2, I did this. It was a big, terrible mess for me. I want to thank you to my daughter Avery for letting me use her markers, and thank you for school, because the one thing that I learned from school, well, I learned how to read, I learned how to write and speak a bit, and I learned about schedules. Because when we are in high school, they teach us, you know, or at least in my school, they usually had day 1, day 2, day 3. They had these different days on rotation all week. And depending on what day it is, there will be a totally different schedule to follow. So I decided to base my feeding schedule like that. If you know me, you know that I'm kind of crazy, but smart in a weird way. So I'm very terrible at math, but I'm very good at calculating things. I'm very good at making things efficient. So I wanted to make a feeding schedule that would be super efficient, because when you have 100 snakes to feed, you don't want to be overfeeding, you don't want to forget about some and be underfeeding, you don't want to be going through all sorts of things that can happen. So, step 1, most important thing before I start a feeding schedule like this is get the animals eating. Make sure every animal is eating properly. If anything is not eating properly, then you have problems. For me, I have no problems because every single snake in here eats when I feed them. And that's, I believe, because I don't feed them too much. When you see somebody with a fat cat, whose fault is it? Is it the cat or the owner? It's the owner's fault. So some people that have only one snake, they really want to see it eat, so they're like, here, watch it eat, let's feed it all the time, and they feed that snake, it gets obese, and it's no good. So I think to myself, do I want a snake that is chubby, or do I want a snake that's a little bit more lean? And studies show that a leaner snake is better. A leaner person is better. I have to work on myself too. I eat too much. I eat too good. And it's mostly my wife's fault. It's just like when we eat, I'm like, oh man, this is so delicious. And oh man, this is so bad for me. Wonderful. Anyways, back to the feeding schedule. So, when you have a snake that is just a touch hungry, that means when you feed it, bam, they're going to eat it. It's going to be so good. You're not going to have dead snakes, dead rats laying around in their homes, smelling all nasty, and all that stuff. So now, here we are. We're ready to give you the schedule. Now, before I share with you my wonderful secrets, I just want to tell you, to the people that are subscribed, to you 27% watching me that are subscribed, thank you so much. To the 50 people that watch this video every week, thank you very much. To everyone else, subscribe right now, please. And or at least listen to this, see if you find it useful. And if you do find it useful, subscribe and share it. And when you see people saying, is there a schedule you people use? And then you see that schedule where it says feed your snake once every 5 weeks. I don't really agree with that. But to each their own, to each their own. Everyone, if you want to feed your snake every week, go for it. Is it good for it? No. If you want to feed it every 2 months, I don't really think that's that great for it either. I think it's more balanced to be in between. So, the way that I've scheduled it out is I've taken my whole collection and basically divided it into 2 main groups. I have snakes that are fed every 2 weeks, and I have snakes that are fed every 3 weeks. So all the snakes that have been fed every 3 weeks, I divide into 3 groups. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3. Okay? So all of my snakes that are being fed once every 3 weeks, they're on week 1, week 2, or week 3. So that means I get to divide my whole collection into 3 and feed a third of them on week 1, a third of them on week 2, and a third of them on week 3. Amazing. Then all the other ones that are getting fed every 2 weeks, they get split into 2 groups, week 1 and week 2. And this goes on my fridge with a magnet. 2 magnets, 1 magnet here and 1 magnet here. And then what happens is week 1, magnet here, feed these snakes. Week 2, now let's feed these snakes. Week 3, now we feed these snakes. And as we're doing this, week 1, week 2, week 1, week 2. So we're going back and forth feeding these snakes. So they're getting fed every 2 weeks. Then we're going back and forth with these, and they get fed every 3 weeks. Now, here's a little fun one. So sometimes you have an animal and you want to feed it a bit more. Let's say we don't want to feed it every week. Let's say babies. Lots of people like to feed them every week, but for me, I don't want to feed them every 2 weeks, but I don't want to feed them every week either. So what I can do is I can put them on a schedule, like on the 3-week schedule, and say I'm going to feed them on week 1 and week 3. So now, week 1 they get fed, week 2 they don't get fed, week 3 they get fed, and then week 1 they get fed again. So they get a week without feeding and then 2 weeks with feeding. So you can schedule out your animals like that. So if you want to feed them a little bit less than every 2nd week, or a little bit less than every week, but not every 2nd week, you throw them on 2 of these. So it's not set in stone that all these snakes can only eat every 3 weeks. They can eat whenever you schedule them in. So it's a nice way that you can really control how each of your snakes are being fed. Now this schedule is different from my baby schedule anyway. So I have a different schedule for babies on its own, where I get them established, I get them eating, and I'm going to do a video about that soon, like getting them to eat. And then once they're eating solidly, they're continuously doing it properly, then I throw them on this schedule. The schedule has the weeks and it has the sizes. So there's small, medium, large. So all the snakes that are being fed small get put into a little list here. All the snakes that are being fed medium into a list here. All the snakes being fed large. So all the small, medium, large, small, medium, large, small, medium, large. And then, for instance, some of my bigger snakes that need a bigger meal, I'll put an underline under their name so I know those ones need the extra large. So this way it's all nicely on the schedule. I see this, my magnet's here from last week. I go get my rats for the next week. I put my magnet here. I grab, I need 5 smalls, 6 mediums, and 10 larges. And I can pull those out, stick them in a bag, let them de-thaw, and I'm ready to feed them the next day. So this schedule is beautiful. I hope that it makes sense to you. I hope you can put it to use. If you like it, give me a like, share it, tell your friends, and if you think it's nonsense, tell me why. Give me a dislike. Tell me about how terrible it is. I don't know. And then same thing, week 1 and week 2. So small, medium, large, small, medium, large. Now, since you've stayed with me all this time, I'm going to give you bonus material. So once I've gone through week 1, week 2, week 3, or week 1 and week 2 with rats, I'm trying to give my snakes a varied diet. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll go through this schedule like twice. Once it's gone through this schedule twice, then they move on to the same schedule, but over here with birds. So then what that means is they've eaten through 3 weeks, so they go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 1, week 2, week 3. Okay, now I take the magnet off and I move it to the bird schedule. So now week 1 gets bird, week 2 gets birds, and week 3 gets birds. So I'm feeding all my snake birds, the ones that'll eat them, and I put some names just to show you. Nico, Nova, Poa, Calypso, they're on the schedule. Poa needs a bigger one, underline him, he gets that extra big one. So the same thing with the birds, and now you can give your animals a varied diet. It goes from that schedule to this schedule. Some snakes won't eat birds, so then you just get the equivalent of the rat. Yeah, that was wonderful, wasn't it? Now make sure you
Take, circle. Take, circle.
yeah, click the circle.
Yeah, I did.
And then watch this video or this one.
No.
Yeah?
No.
Yes. It's not that hard. Which one appeals to you more? Is it this one or is it this one?